From New York, it's That Kevin Show.
See, I knew it.
Come on, Kev. What's a few classified documents between friends?
I told you all the time. I knew it. I knew he had some too.
Here he is, That Kevin McCullough.
Welcome back to Times Square. It's That Kevin Show. And as you know, at this microphone, we have covered in pretty stark detail one of the issues that I still feel like is going to be one of the biggest issues on the ballot this fall. You know, you've got Kamala Harris in the race now, and she's trying to make this about women versus men and women's issues versus men's issues. And I still think that the position of her and her party are putting themselves at odds with what a lot of women think. And that's why I've spoken with so many at this microphone over the last year about this particular issue. But today I'm very honored to have one of those women who has stood up and said, I will be counted for the cause of what's right. Her name is Paula Scanlon, and she joins us. She's now associated with the Independent Women's Forum, and she just concluded the Title IX bus tour that we spoke with many of the other participants from. Paula, it's great to have you with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
When you were a kid growing up wanting to be a swimmer, you probably never thought that you were going to have to deal with in college what you went through for that year that that Lia Thomas was part of your college team. Take us back through Paula's, work to become the best swimmer that you could your entire life.
Yeah, I mean, before I got to college, I was dedicating at least 20 hours a week to swimming, giving up weekends. I gave up holidays. I gave up social events with peers. Really, it was just something that I spent all of my time on. And that is not the case just for me, but for every athlete that ended up making it D1. Not even just in swimming, in every sport. I mean, the hours sacrificed, the time your parents are sacrificing so much to get you to practice and get you to these meets. And again, it was just something I never thought would be possible. I always thought I would be competing against other women. I never thought there would ever be a man changing in my locker room with me. But of course, I got to college and it was all, just insane. There's no other way to explain it. It was just so unimaginable to me that this would even happen. I
want to get to that part of the story in a second, but I want to focus on you just a bit longer because you talk about the hours and the sacrifice. What type of performance did that preparation allow you to achieve at the high school level? Were you the best in your state? Were you one of the best in your state? Like what, because I think it's important for people to understand that D1 it's the only level below professional in almost every sport. So it is a lifelong commitment.
Yes. So I swam in high school. Obviously, I was captain of my team my senior year. My junior and senior year, we won our league. So I was in the New England Independent School League. And actually in that league, I'm a record holder still to this date. We swam a relay back in 2017 when I was a junior and in the 400-yard freestyle relay. And it is actually the longest standing record in our league. So if you go and check online, all the records are from much more recently than 2017, and that our 2017 record is still there. And so obviously that was one of my proudest accomplishments to have gone through that. And also that was the first year that we won the New England title in our league. And again, being part of that was so beneficial to my life experience, to my confidence as an athlete, to just feeling like I was part of something great. And obviously that helped me later get on to swim in college. And all the other girls who were on that relay record with me, they also went on and swam D1 as well.
Wow. So it was a very talented team, obviously. And one of the things that this issue relates to very much so, at least on the high school level, and I remember covering the Connecticut track girls stories a few years ago, was that when men were introduced to their division to be allowed to run as women, scholarships were lost because records were shattered by biological men and scholarships were taken by biological men that they shouldn't have been. Like they should have been competing in the men's division. Before we go any further, let me ask you a fun question. Katie Ledecky this week won her, 185th 1500 meter race. Did you ever think Olympics was in your sights? Were you potentially thinking Olympic direction?
No, I was not. Obviously, I mean, not every D1 athlete is an Olympian or a national champion. I was definitely not in that top tier of athletes. But I definitely knew a lot of people who ended up going down that route. So I know a few people who are on the Olympic team this year. And I know Riley Gaines also has friends on the team as well. So it's not a very big community. It's pretty small. In fact, most of us know each other. There are people I know.
And that's why the intrusion of biological men into the circle is such a violation, because it is a very hard thing to accomplish. It is a very hard group to get into. It is a very hard level of performance to establish, only to then be cast aside by a very mediocre male in terms of wanting to come in and interrupt that. So if we didn't approach this from any other issue than just what it does to women's rights, every woman in America should be concerned about this, no?
Yeah, every woman in America should be concerned about this, and not even just in sports, because now we're seeing the intrusion of men into women's bathrooms, locker rooms. You know, you could show up for college and your roommate can be a male at most universities across this country. And so it's really not even just sports. And I think like sports just ends up being the most obvious, because that, you know, visual of Leah Thomas towering over Riley, or the visual of Leah Thomas winning an event by over 30 seconds, right? That's just very obvious to people. But what's happening behind closed doors is going into these bathrooms. I mean, I go across the country, I travel, and I work on this stuff, and I meet families and young girls, even elementary school students, who are telling me that there are boys who are now using their bathroom. There are boys now entering their locker rooms. There are boys now trying to join their various different sports teams. I mean, it's really at every layer, and everyone should care about this issue, even men, right? Because every man has a woman in their life. So it's every layer. And I think I didn't even imagine how deep it would go when I first even started speaking out about this.
Well, as a husband to a wife that he loves dearly, and a daughter that I would literally do anything for to protect and save, this is something that has been on my radar screen very, very hard and heavy for the last year. I want to talk about the shape of all of this, but I want you to tell us a little bit more of your story first. The first day that you were confronted with Thomas being in the locker room with you, how did that walk us through the initial shock of what you experienced the first time?
Yeah, so before Thomas actually joined the team, we had been told 2 years prior that this was going to be happening. And so it was this really long process of people saying they didn't want him in the locker room, all of these different factors. But we were originally actually told he was going to be using the family bathroom outside in the hallway when this was first announced to us. But 2 years later, once he actually joined the team, he had a locker in there like everybody else. And we were just told if he's a member of this team, he's going to have the same rights and same opportunities as the rest of us. And so it was definitely shocking. I got very lucky because my locker was as far away from his as it could have been. It's the best way to explain it is the locker was like sort of shaped like an L, and I was at one end and he was at the other. But one of my close friends actually had the locker next to him, and she went to our coach and said, "This has to be a joke. There's no way you expect me to change next to a man." And they told her, you know, our hands are tied. We're really sorry. And she went outside and changed in that single stall family bathroom in the hallway every day.
Stick around for more of That Kevin. Next, That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.